And now it's away.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. You want this?
Okay.
A recording
No,
for
it's
posterity?
Okay. It's okay.
Goes online.
I want to short an announcement about further interview. It will start tomorrow. And tomorrow we only have evening section, 4:15 to 5:15. The morning session will be 9:15 to 10:15. It starts on Tuesday. So I will put out the interview sheets at the little wooden stencil outside around the office area. Okay, and when you fill up the interview sheets, make sure you put your name following the one on top. Because no matter it's 9:15 or 9:30, it'll be the same Ajahn, okay? If you leave any time gap, I will remove your name, okay? It happens every time, okay? Don't leave any time gap in between names. And tomorrow, I will put out the interview sheet in morning time. So it's first come, first served. And the priority will go to those who never seen Ajahn before, okay? And those interview sessions are for meditation questions, not for personal issues, okay? Only meditation questions, okay?
In my dreams.
Not for counseling, okay? Not for counseling. And then for the breakfast, lunch, and snack time.
Snack?
Yeah, 5 o'clock, chocolate. Only chocolate.
Okay.
Nothing else. Dark chocolate. And because the helpers, they need time to rest, so make sure breakfast time, keep it within an hour, so 6:45 to 7:45, breakfast. And lunch is 11 to 12. They'll clear everything, okay? Snack time, the very time, 5 to 6:30. So please, there are guidelines for meals, right?
Okay, good.
If you missed that, sorry. Okay, and also please be reminded to keep noble silence. In the past 2 days, or I'm sure you have done enough socializing, rain retreat and Dharmasara. So please try your best to refrain from talking because you're disturbing others. Okay? Thank you very much.
Very good.
And also tonight, because there's some questions, so Ajahn may.
Yeah. Am I supposed to keep noble silence too?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know what the teddy bear is doing in here, but have you any questions? At least the teddy bear keeps noble silence. Well done. We'll start with some questions and then see, you've got me here for an hour and we see how it goes. Usually the questions take a long time. Anyway, first question. Ajahn, in walking meditation, I focus in 2 points, breath and sensation in feet. What should I do to only focus on feet? How? Thank you. Easy, just stop breathing. No, just when you focus, can you feel your feet right now? Don't look at them. Can you feel how your toes feel? Can you feel the sensation in your feet? And imagine you're now standing on especially the red carpets. You can feel them. And after a while, you've been breathing for such a long time, you don't really need to focus on the feelings in your breath. Just feel the sensations on your feet. And if you lose that awareness of your feet moving, then just stop until the awareness moves from the breath back to the feet. It's a wonderful way of meditating. It takes a bit of practice, obviously, but after a while, there are some people who prefer the walking meditation piece than even the sitting down meditating piece. Experiment, give it a try. And eventually you just focus on the feet. There's enough going on down there that you should be able to notice it pretty easy. If you have prosthetic legs, it doesn't work. You know what prosthetic legs are, don't you? No, false ones, not real ones. But then, if it's your real legs and you take your socks off, if you possibly can, then you can feel all those sensations. Are you warm enough in these rooms? You just take your socks off for half an hour or 45 minutes. Please make sure you have a shower and you wash your socks. Otherwise, a few people in the rooms might pass out. It's out of kindness for others. It's a beautiful way of meditating. One more, how to relax to the max. Easy. Come on, relax. Loosen the tension in your shoulders. I like to use my shoulders as a good example, because sometimes I feel it's like there's a bunch of strings or whatever it is in those muscles, and they're being pulled apart by these four invisible demons. You know, putting them apart that side, putting them apart that side. And I know when there's tension in that part of the body, then if anything drops on it or hits it, it hasn't got any resilience, it's tight. It's like one of those guitar strings. If the guitar string is tight, is extended, pulled apart, and somebody plucks it, it makes a high-pitched sound, ding! But if it's relaxed and loose, and something touches it or falls on it, boom, a low-pitched sound. And the more relaxed it is, the more loose it is, the more it doesn't make any sound when something hits it. So when you relax any of your muscles, you find that's a secret. The result is resilience. Many things can touch it in life, but nothing makes it hurt. And a good personal example of that, as you probably notice, is my voice. You know, I was really coughing on Saturday, and on Sunday when we had this big ceremony, did you hear any coughs? On not doing the ceremony. But Nicholas, when you drove me from Bodhinyana to here, was I coughing? You bet. Really loudly. Am I coughing now? Well, how come? Exactly how you can learn to relax. Now I'm relaxing all the muscles in my mouth. One of the reasons I started coughing again was because when any of the monks tell a joke, I just can't resist jokes. It's one of my weaknesses. And so I start laughing. And if I start laughing at jokes, it irritates my throat. I can't breathe properly, and it gets the cough started again. So right now I'm very mindful of my throat, and I'm going to try very hard not to tell any jokes. But I can't resist. One of the monks was telling me that, he has some trouble with warts on his body. I'm not going to tell you which monk, otherwise you have to go looking for them. But it reminded me of a story of this a young man. He was single, and he came across this frog. And this frog had had a curse chanted on her. And she said to this young man, she was really a very beautiful princess who spurned this other guy, and the other guy had put a curse on her and turned her into a frog. And this beautiful princess said that's what she was before the curse, and all she needed was a kiss, even though it's very disgusting to kiss this frog full of warts, and she will turn into a beautiful princess and look after him for the rest of his life. So he picked her up and put her in his pocket. That's all, just put her in the pocket. And as he was walking back to work, she said, "Aren't you going to kiss me?" And the guy said, "No. I work in IT. I've got no time for a girlfriend. but I really love, it's really cool to have a talking frog. Thank you for not laughing, because that makes me laugh when you laugh. So anyway, those are stupid jokes, and I start laughing, and it makes my throat hurt. So that's how you relax to the max. You can feel the muscles relax, and you have resilience then. That's how sometimes as a monk, that sometimes you eat something which is bad for your digestion. I already mentioned to you that you find out as a monk there's a few things which I'm allergic to. And one of those things is honey, another one is ginger. So when somebody told me, they said, "Oh, can we make you some medicine to heal your throat with lots of ginger and lots of, what else, or an apple or something, or honey." I'm allergic to honey too. My family was so poor, we never had honey when we were young. So every time I eat it now, it's sweet, it's delicious, but I can't digest it. It just sits in my tummy. So because of that, be careful what you feed a monk. Because if I'd agreed to have that special medicine which worked for them, with ginger and honey, it would have killed me. And that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it would have not settled well in my tummy. So you have to be careful, know what you can eat, what you can't eat. And I still recall going to Malaysia to give a series of talks, and in those days I would just eat whatever a person put in my bowl. But sometimes my poor stomach got worse and worse. And one day in Kuala Lumpur, in a big talk with about 3,000 people, it's a lot of people. It's even a pop band would probably say, or K-pop would say that's a pretty big gig. Is that right? I don't know anyway. But anyway, 3,000 people, a lot of people. And of course, after the talk, there's a time for questions, and they asked me a question, and then at that time my poor tummy was really churning, and then but I resisted and just carried on answering questions until one question came up, and I said, "Look, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question because I need to go to the toilet quick." And they said, "Oh, just one question." They wouldn't let me go. So I tried to answer that question. You know what came out of my mouth? It was projectile vomiting. And that was one of the most wonderful things which I did, honestly, because people saw it. And it was videoed. So it was kind of proof, look, I'm not messing around, that sometimes you have to be careful, of what you eat, otherwise this is what you get. And if I did that here in Jhana Grove, the poor cleaners, and would you like to clean that up afterwards if I did that? No way. So because of that, it was kind of proof, and so people realize you have to be careful looking after monks and nuns. And so because of that, you always try to make sure that you are careful what you eat. But sometimes you don't know. I know sometimes I've been to some people's houses and they say, "Oh, this is not spicy food." I said it's mild spice. For them it may be mild, for me, ooh. So that's one of the reasons why that a few times it's happened, I'll still eat it anyway, that you get a very sore tummy. So what do you do if you have a sore tummy? As a monk, you learn how to relax to the max. And I love telling these stories because once it wasn't that it was bad digestion. I think about a year ago, again, because I laugh too much, that's my weakness. I was laughing, and the food got stuck in the wrong hole in my throat, and it blocked my throat up. So I couldn't drink, I couldn't swallow the food which was stuck in my esophagus somewhere. I couldn't do anything. So what I did, I went back to my room and meditated. And what meditation was learning how to relax to the max. Just let it be. Not fight it. Not try and get rid of it, even though it was unpleasant at first. And after a while, the throat relaxes. And I could breathe okay. It was just I couldn't swallow any water, and I couldn't sort of swallow the piece of food which was stuck in my throat. I couldn't eat anything or drink anything. So I just sat there. It was not a long time, only about 5 hours. It was a test of my patience. I learned how to relax to the max. And then after about 4 or 5 hours, you could feel the throat was starting to expand. It relaxed. That's what happens with your body when you relax. Things expand, and then the blockage in the throat just went through. And I remember, I don't know, some of the monks heard me say this, that when I could, the blockage disappeared. I remember the first glass of water which I drank. It was so sweet. The ordinary water which I have in my cave, but this was just so beautiful, the way it just came into my throat and went down. Because you are meditating and making the mind really peaceful and relaxing everything, that was one of the, almost the free gifts, from that experience. And so for these days, sometimes if ever, you see me, many of you care for me a lot, if you see me like coughing, or see me like you feel I'm getting sick, please don't ask me, how are you? Because if I care for you as well, I want to make sure that you don't worry about me. And so I care for you. And if I try and answer you, then I get tense again, and that stops the relaxation happen, stops the curing happen. A lot of time, if you care for somebody, and they say, no, I don't need anything, please let them be. And just when they relax and they feel free, they can relax to the max. And all the muscles in their body can relax. Then they feel so much healthier. Would you like me to live a long life? That's how I live a long life. Learning how to relax to the max. And then you can sometimes feel like blockages in your body. So I just go down to wherever that blockage may be, maybe in a knee, and really just focus on it and be kind to it, to let it be. Have you heard about letting be before? So how do you meditate? Let it be. Please don't fight. I've demonstrated this before. Got water in the cup. Was this the hot water you put in here? Okay, good. I was going to say it's got cold, so it has relaxed and got cold. So if you have some water, again, you've seen me do this before. Number one, how heavy is it? I remember giving this demonstration. I always say this in Imperial College in London. That's one of the most renowned scientific research establishments in London. They have a Buddhist society there. I remember asking the leader of the Buddhist society in Imperial College in London, sort of how was it over there being a Buddhist. He was quite respected, because Buddhism has a good reputation in science in UK. But one of the things he did tell me, he said when he first went there as a freshman, undergraduate, that he got lost walking in the college. And it's mostly buildings, because it's right in the centre of London. And he said he went down these stairs, he didn't know where he was going, kind of exploring. You know where he actually went? It was the secret department, the government research department, where students weren't allowed. That's where they were doing all these experiments, which nobody wanted anyone to know about. And so he went down there. It's amazing what actually happens in this world. I don't know if I ever told you about one of the monks in UK. I won't say who he is. But he told me that he has a sister. And his sister was, not married. And she was just, had a nice office job somewhere in London. Sometimes she had to go overseas for conferences. But it's only when she retired, she let on what she was doing. MI6. So was she just like a typist or something, or made the tea for the other spies? She said no. She was on active duty. She had this amazing ability. She could read anything, like this question, and she could remember it perfectly. So this was some time ago now, but they would send her, to behind the Iron Curtain, behind, people who, would be checked all the time, and no one ever suspected her. She was a perfect agent. And some of the other spies there would just manage to, show her one of these documents, which was absolutely very, very top secret. And she would look at it and then return it, and she'd remember everything. So she'd go back to London, and then she would write it out for people. Perfect. What a wonderful spy that was. So you know that sometimes some of the monks here, or some of the lay people here, Ajahn Brahm, why is it you go to all these interesting countries and you come back with these big donations? Are they really donations? Do you think I would make a good spy? Of course not, because I'm too honest to be a spy. But anyway, it's a nice little story there, how you can relax so much that even reading something, you can have a good memory of it. Is your memory good? If it is good, don't tell anybody. But I must admit, when I was traveling in the United States some years ago, that on one of the immigration officers, they had to check everybody out. And in those days, they didn't know much about Buddhism or Theravada Buddhism. So they did once stop me and they said, you're wearing a robe. What have you got under your robe? And they saw, there was like something under here. And so it's nice and easy. I just open the robe and have a look if you like. And I said, there's nothing there, it's only fat. And then they said, I apologize, I thought it was a suicide belt. I think then he said, it was a suicide belt, too much fat. Is that what a fat chest is, a suicide belt? No, it's not. I'm very healthy, I'm going to live a long life. So if it's not a suicide belt, what is it? Is it really fat? It's love, yes. The reason this is so big here, I've been a monk, this is my 51st year as a monk. My 51st Rains retreat coming up. And every year you're a monk, you grow in kindness. I'm a much kinder monk than when I first ordained as a monk. over 50 years ago. And so you get so kind as a monk, your heart grows. You get a bigger heart every year. And because you get a bigger heart every year, a long time ago, after 5 or 10 years as a monk, my heart was growing so big, it was pressing against my rib cage, and it couldn't go any fatter. My heart, was limited by, the skeleton which I was born with, and so the heart could only go one way, which was down and out. It's just a big heart, that's all. So how come I got such a big heart but never have any problems with health? How come? And the solution is this. This is science. You can argue this with your doctors if you wish. But you notice, the happier you are, the more you relax, the more you laugh, your arteries and veins, they expand. They get bigger with laughter. So if you have big arteries and veins, you can eat much more greasy food, and the cholesterol just all passes through, just like heavy traffic on a superhighway. You don't get a traffic jam. So that's my theory. Why it is that the happiest people you see are the fat people. Because you've got two choices. If you're fat and miserable, then your arteries are small and you've got lots of stuff to go through them. Of course it's going to get traffic jams, heart attacks and stuff. So the only people who are left are the fat and happy ones. Have a look, Ajahn Chah was really big. Ajahn Ganha was really big.
He loses weight now.
Oh yeah, that was the chemicals. Yeah, that's not good for you. And who else is really fat and happy? So even if you're thin, still being happy and laughing a lot and relaxing to the max, that saves your life too. Anyway, that's the answer to the question. I don't know how many of you believe it. It works for me. How to relax to the max. The other way how to relax to the max is with kindness. Have you ever noticed your own body, and just a body awareness now, if you're angry and upset, just how tight your body becomes? But if you're kind, if you see like a kangaroo, there's lots of kangaroos to see. Do you think they complain when it rains? Do they feel cold? Should we get them jumpers and little woolly hats to wear? No, they never complain. And one of the reasons why, I reckon, is because they're welcomed here. They don't feel any fear. When you're kind to animals, they relax to the max as well. They never feel like attacking you or hurting you. Why should they? But if you make them scared and they get tense, then they're liable to attack. That's one of the reasons why, having lived in the forest for such a long time, I remember telling this to the Cancer Support Association last Thursday. I said, in so many times over in Thailand, it was so hot that in the hut which I was staying, I just have a lower robe over my waist upwards was bare. Because it was, no one was looking at me, and it was really, really hot. And so in my hut, there was also so many other little animals relying upon that hut, and there were many tarantulas. And you're supposed to be scared of tarantulas. I said, why would a tarantula want to attack me? They can't eat me. Number one, I'm too big. And number two, it'll probably give them a stomachache. So So I was actually giving loving kindness to tarantulas, and I respected them. And every now and again you were sitting there in meditation, and one of them would fall on you. Big tarantula. And then the tarantula would just walk across you. And I don't know if you've ever had that experience, walking across your bare skin, but the tarantulas are very tickly. And because I'm a monk and sensory pleasure deprived, I really loved them when they walked on me. They were so tickly and nice. They never hurt me, just go over my skin. And that's why I got to have a lot of compassion for tarantulas. They just got a bad reputation. They need a PA makeover. They're nice. And then, am I convincing you? Some of you maybe, but a lot of you know. So because of that, you learn how to relax to the max, and you can enjoy nature rather than being upset at nature. Do you like mosquitoes? You don't like mosquitoes? Oh, they're not doing any harm. They're itchy. Well, many things make you itchy, but they also teach you how to not get bitten. This is what Ajahn told me when I complained about mosquitoes. And there were many mosquitoes. And the reason why I got bitten so much by these mosquitoes, because that was the first time that Western monks had gone to the northeast. And this meant they had a new cuisine to explore, Western food. So the word soon got around to all of those mosquitoes around Ubon. Hey, this is really delicious Western food. And now they're monks. Because they're monks, they already know they've been conditioned for so many centuries. If they see someone with a bald head and a brown robe, the mosquitoes know that's a safe meal. Just imagine that you're a mosquito, or what it must be like to be a mosquito. You go to the dining room to get breakfast, and you have to be really aware, and you have to eat your breakfast very quick, otherwise some big hand in the sky goes swat and kills you. Those mosquitoes must have witnessed many of their brothers and sisters, especially their sisters, because they're the ones who drink the blood, get squashed and go out of their life forever. Have you ever lost your family members? Imagine what it must be like for a mosquito. Just eating, the only thing they can eat, a bit of blood, is a traumatic experience for them. They can't just relax to the max and enjoy it. They've got to suck it up quickly and get out before they get squashed. They must all suffer very bad indigestion problems, those poor mossies. So anyway, Ajahn taught me that from now on, look at mosquitoes as your teacher. Ajahn mosquito, I was supposed to call them. And like most times, I thought Ajahn was crazy. But it was true. What I learned from those experiences of being bitten by mosquitoes was to relax to the max, not worry. When I relaxed to the max, you know what I found? That hardly any mosquito bit me. And I thought, wow, this is like psychic powers. You get really deep in meditation and you become immune from mosquitoes. And I thought, wow, this is a proof that meditation works. But it's only later on when I came back to Australia, you found out that it wasn't just anything psychic powers, it was just science. Because why do mosquitoes come to you? It is not the smell, but the carbon dioxide coming out from your pores. the more you metabolize, the more carbon dioxide comes out, then the more you're telling the mosquitoes, hey, free meal over here. And as soon as you stop worrying and stop metabolizing so much, when you started to relax to the max, mosquitoes couldn't find you. You become invisible to them. Nothing psychic at all, but just nature. So if you don't worry about the mosquitoes, they will buzz to somebody else. It's not compassionate, but I didn't mind about not being compassionate that they bit my friends instead. I was just happy. They were biting me. I was a Theravada monk, okay, not Mahayana. I wasn't a bodhisattva, I was on want to get enlightened. So each one of these ways is where you learn just the result of how to relax and the benefits of it. The more you worry, the more you're telling the mosquitoes you're here to be bitten. That makes sense? Okay, that's the first question. That's half an hour? Yeah, half an hour. Did you like that? Okay, next question. So we've got quite a few questions, so it's going to be a late night. You know how to shorten the talk? If you get tired and you think the talk has gone on long enough, you can find out where the buttons are in the office over there, and you can switch them off. We tried that with this one monk. We had this big session of a celebration day, and many monks were given half an hour to give a talk, only half an hour to make way for the next monk. And this monk got on the microphone and started talking. His half an hour came up, and the MC monk said, okay, that's enough. Stop talking now. Would he stop talking? No. He carried on. So they gave him another 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay, time to stop now. No. So what do you think they did? They turned off the microphone. He just raised his voice and started talking louder. And after another 20 minutes, he still wouldn't stop. So they turned off all the lights in the room. And even in the darkness, he didn't know whether he was talking to many people or none at all. He still carried on. And then they turned the lights on again. Most people had left. But he still carried on. And there's only people listening to him now were the lizards and the spiders and the ceiling. He's just talking to an empty room. But he decided, once I have the microphone, I'm not giving up. I remember him. Actually, I reminded him of the story. He came to stay here for a little while. But I told him, please don't teach my monks how to do that. So when they're finished, please let them finish. Have you ever seen anything like that? Monks who just, once they get into it, they can't stop talking. Anyway, hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. I'm totally new to retreat like this. What would be your advice to a newbie like me? Wonderful. Welcome. Are you really a newbie? Because here, as a Buddhist, it's not like you have beliefs. You have some understanding. There are things like rebirth. Is this your first time meditating or coming to a monastery? Sometimes I look at my life. No one in my family, no one was a Buddhist. No one even knew how to spell Buddhism. And it's only because I read books, and I thought, this makes sense to me. And so I said I was a Buddhist, but I didn't know where to go next. So because I never knew where to go, I was just reading books and trying to discover by myself. And that's one of the reasons why, especially over in Hong Kong, thank you for letting me go on public transport. Because when you go on public transport, you meet a lot of people. And when you meet a lot of people, people can actually see there's monks. There's monks who can speak English. And some people get very excited. They want to ask you questions. And I'm very happy to be answering questions. And I remember many, many, many times. There's this one lady, she came up to me on the Underground in London. Because, in London I like to use public transport as well. Okay, people say, no, you have to be driven here and there in a car. But you don't. So a lot of times, wherever I can, I like to use public transport. Unfortunately, in Indonesia, I've never been on... Yes, I have. The train, yeah. In Medan, yeah. Thank you for that. But anyway, when you go on public transport, it's like people can come up to you and ask you questions. And this lady in the London Underground once asked me this question. She came and sat next to me. I was just busy minding my own business. She came and sat next to me. I remember the conversation. She said, are you a Buddhist monk? And I was always polite, yes. A real monk? So the last time I looked, I was. And then she was always wanted to ask some questions about Buddhism. So then she asked me about, what does Buddhism teach? Why are you a Buddhist monk? And then I eventually got to the subject of rebirth, reincarnation. And she said, is that part of your beliefs? I said, well, it's not beliefs, it's like our knowledges, how we understand life. And I gave her an example. There's many people from many different countries come to Jhana Grove for a meditation retreat. And on one day, we had this Italian man. He was Australian now, but he grew up in Italy. And he still had a strong connection to Italian culture. And on the interviews which I had with him here, like we're doing those interviews tomorrow afternoon, he came and said some of his weird experiences in meditation. He said the first experience he had this vision which he connected to his previous life. He said he really felt like he was a strand of spaghetti. And then the next time he meditated, he thought he was a piece of macaroni. It took me a couple of minutes to work out what he was experiencing. He was Italian. He was remembering his past lives. Yeah, it took you a while, but you got it. He was remembering his past lives. And when I said that, have you ever been in the London Underground? Do people ever connect together or look at each other? They totally ignore each other on the London Underground. It's so antisocial. But when I said that joke, I looked up, and so many of the passengers in a quite crowded train, they looked at me. They weren't looking at their iPhone anymore. They weren't reading any newspaper. They were looking at me. Half of them were laughing. The other half were groaning. But at least they took notice of a monk. I said, that's what a monk is. That's how you spread the Dhamma. So you're not really a newbie. You're catching up. And it's amazing the benefits you get from this. I don't know how old you are, but if you're young, one of the things which you gain from this meditation is simple things like how to pass exams. Easy, no problem. I'll tell this story because it also introduces how meditation works. And this time, this was at Cambridge University. I studied theoretical physics there. And then at the end of the 3 years of study, they gave you these final exams. They called them final exams. Because everything else you did for those 3 years counted for nothing. Zip, zero. Those period of exams, you either passed or you failed. You only had one chance. Imagine the pressure. 3 years of study, and now it all came down to 6 days of exams. And of course I was nervous, and I was only 20 at the time, because all my relations, all my friends, and all the people I knew, they kept on telling me, you pass those exams. You get a degree in theoretical physics from Cambridge. You'll be made for life. You'll be able to get a job anywhere. And I believed that. If only I had known I was going to become a monk. You don't need a degree if you're a monk. I could have relaxed. Well, actually, I did relax. And that's how I passed those exams. I never knew I was going to be a monk, but I already knew how to meditate. Those exams, natural sciences, had a 3-hour exam in the morning, 3-hour exam in the afternoon with an hour break for lunch, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday in a row. That was like torture. No sort of break. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday. I thought Saturday was unfair. Saturday was a time when people had relaxation. They'd go and play soccer or something. But no, 6 days in a row. So what did I do? After the morning exam, instead of having lunch, I went to my room, sat on a cushion and meditated. Every lunchtime I did that. These are the sorts of things which kind of prove to me it's just not the first time I've been a meditator. Because how did I know how to do all this stuff? And then you sat down. I didn't have any lunch. I had a big breakfast, a big dinner, because I was a lay person at that time. And so I sat down on my cushion. And what do you think the first thing which came into my mind? Morning exam. How did I do? What a stupid thought that is. The exam has been done, it's finished. You can't change it now. Why don't you just let it go? A lot of people can't do that. We worry about things we can't change. So I let go of the past because I trained to do that. What do you think the next thing which came into my mind was? Next exam, yeah, why on earth do you waste your time doing that? Because what I thought I should do is pick up a book and do some last-minute revision. But one thing which I've noticed, and I don't know what exams you ever do, that what you revise in the last minute never comes up in the exam. It's a complete waste of time. And so I realized, and I've said this many times in the meditation, please never plan for the future. Because your future is being made right now. This is the only time you have to create a peaceful, wise, kind future. So right now is where you relax to the max. You don't decide to relax to the max tomorrow morning. Relax to the max now. So that's what I did. I gave up all worry about the future exam. I needed to really relax because I was exhausted. I never realized that. This was one of the things which kinds of shocked you. The insight which comes up, the understanding of how you are. And when I relaxed to the max and came into the present moment, the first thing which I experienced, I was physically shaking. And that really surprised me because I hadn't noticed that at all. Have you ever seen me being a nervous monk? You have some great fun as a monk, not being nervous. I remember meeting Queen Elizabeth. Was I nervous? meeting those great politicians, Hun Sen. Was I nervous? No. Have you ever seen me nervous? You know, one of the most nervous things I ever did was actually do an interview on TV, live interview. No preparation. There's no way, if you make a mistake, say something you shouldn't say, you can take it back again. A live interview on national TV. And at the same time, you know Ajahn Brahmali, he was accompanying me, but he wasn't allowed into the studio where the camera was. And he was actually making funny faces at me. Trying to make me laugh. I thank him for that. Gave me an extra test. And I just enjoyed myself. Because you know, if you make one mistake, they had a TV show apparently called TV Bloopers. It's very funny when monks or anybody makes a big mistake. That's the way they want to put it on live TV. They don't delete it. That's a really crowd puller to see people make mistakes. So anyway, that's supposed to be scary. Is it supposed to be scary to speak in public? I must be scared out of my wits because I speak in public all the time. But you know how to relax to the max and tell funny stories. And that's one of the reasons why you don't get scared. So this is the benefits of relaxing to the max. But anyway, I was physically shaking after doing the morning exam and having another exam in the afternoon coming for me. And that's when I felt just how my body was reacting. It's quite natural. You'd expect that to happen with so much pressure on these final exams. But once I noticed it, it was easy to relax the body. That's why, you know, that. Are you surprised, Nicholas, that all that coughing has kind of disappeared? Not in my case, oh crikey. It's boring hanging around with me now, because you know that after a while, there's things which shouldn't be able to be done are easily done. So anyway, so once I could calm the shaking down, the next thing I noticed was also really important. It's a good thing to bring up for you, and that was how tired my brain was. This was not physical, this was like mental exhaustion. You've just been doing 3 hours on quantum theory, answering questions on it. Of course, your brain has been working as hard as it possibly could. And afterwards, it's hard to describe to people some of these feelings which are experienced in the brain. In the body it's hard enough. You say it hurts, yeah, but how much does it hurt? What type of hurt is it in your body? We don't really have the language to describe to others exactly what we're experiencing. And so I came up with the description. It was like my brain felt like a tea bag which had been used twice and just had nothing left, no oomph left in it at all. If I tried to take that tea bag which had been used twice over and try to get a cup of tea out of it, you're wasting your time. That's how I felt, drained. And I'm glad I noticed that, because that gave you the wisdom, the personal understanding, to understand how so many people feel. Each one of you. You've been working hard, getting yourself settled, and it's tough. Your brain, it kind of feels exhausted. You know, trying to arrange to come over here, just to settle in, to go over here, come over there, it's all different. Please understand what exhaustion feels like. And from that exhaustion, mental exhaustion, that's why many young people have mental health problems. It's not that there's something wrong with them, just there's so much asked of you. We try to compete, We try to live up to other people's expectations. We try our best to fit in. That exhausts us. So on this retreat, you don't have to fit in. Just relax to the max. An example of that, there was this lady, I don't know if I told you this story, about the lady who was an executive in Sydney. I already mentioned that story to you. Okay. She slept for the first 3 days. She got up for breakfast, got up for lunch. The rest of the time, she went to her room and slept. And I praised her for that. She got all this negative feedback from the other people who saw her in the same accommodation, sleeping while they were struggling with their meditation. And because of that, I supported her. She'd been working so incredibly hard in her corporation. And then she relaxed for 3 days. And when she got her energy back, basically her health back, then she started coming to the talks and doing the meditation. And she became a star meditator. And I really often quote how she felt. She needed that sleep. She was sleep deprived. How many of you are sleep deprived? Be honest. So please sleep a lot. And if anybody tells you off, then come and see me and I'll tell you off. Please be kind to your body, be kind to your mind, and relax to the max. Sometimes that's what we need. The first few days of the meditation, the schedule is only guidance. It's not obligatory. Please relax and be kind to your body. You know, that was a tough thing for me to teach. Like the schedule is only a loose guidance. People felt that, was it 4:30 or 4 o'clock? 3 o'clock? Was it 2 o'clock? They thought they have to get up at that time. No, you don't. You got my permission. Be aware of your body, be kind to it, relax. And you feel like the energy is there, then get up. Get up at 2 if you want in the morning. You know, sometimes the energy is there, you wake up, you feel great. So get up and meditate. Do some walking meditation. However you feel. So don't be a slave to the schedule. It's only a guidance, that's all. You don't have to sit for 1 hour or 30 minutes or 2 hours. It's wonderful. Imagine if there was a schedule at Bodh Gaya when the Buddha sat there and became enlightened. Imagine he was sitting there under the Bodhi tree, and as he was sitting under the Bodhi tree, would there be a Buddha? I like to say stories like that because I know what it's like. You start to get into some nice meditation and someone bangs the gong, or sometimes you're really hurting and they don't bang the gong. Please, now don't be a slave to the gong. If you're really hurting or you need a glass of water, you need to go to the toilet, just get up very quietly, without disturbing others, and just do what the body is telling you to do. That's how we relax to the max. And you know that there's another executive who came here, and I taught her this. And then she went back, she arrived really late the first night on a Friday night. And afterwards, when she went back to work, she sent me this lovely email. She said, you know, I had a wonderful retreat. I really slept a lot in the first couple of days. And then when my boss saw me in Sydney, she was an executive from Sydney, when my boss saw me, the boss, had to beg to go on a retreat because I was an important part of the company. He looked at me and said, "What drug is Ajahn Brahm giving you? Look, I'm not going to complain, but please make sure you bring me back some next time." He didn't understand how someone just through meditation can be so relaxed and happy. But he certainly understood how it works, not with drugs, but just by being able to relax to the max and be peaceful. So if you want a nice meditation these next few days, just relax. This other lady, I love telling stories. This is, again, new stories. Some are. This one is. It was only a couple of days ago. She was just visiting from Germany. She's going through a separation, so it's very difficult for her. But she said she went to go and see Ajahn Santuti. And Ajahn Santuti just gave very simple advice. When she was asking how to meditate, she said she finds it so difficult to stay with the breathing. Ajahn Santuti said, "Well, when you sit down and close your eyes, do nothing." She hadn't heard that before. Actually, she had. I told her so many times. But this was the first time it really hit her. So she sat down and did nothing. The best meditation she's ever had. I'm so pleased. You let go. Relax to the max. That is not a simple teaching. Imagine relaxing your body. You feel so good. You're at peace with your body. You're not fighting it anymore. It's so relaxed. It feels wonderful. Number 2, you relax your mind. How do you relax your mind? I'm not worrying about the future. That's being made right now. The past, you learn much more from the present than you ever learn from the past. The past, you always distort the past. You remember parts of it, but not the whole, depending on what mood you're in. It gets confusing, the past. This is a good example of how you remember the past and how it's not trustworthy. This was the story which happened during the First World War. The generals, in the headquarters, nice and safe, gave the order, send reinforcements, we're going to advance. And the general sends the order to his next in command, who is the lieutenant general, send reinforcements, we're going to advance. And he repeated the order to the next in command, which was the colonel, and the colonel sent it to the major, and the major sent it to the lieutenant sent it to the captain sent it to the corporal, and the corporal finally sent the message to the privates. The message originally was, send reinforcements, we're going to advance. The message which the fighters on the front line heard was, send 3 and 4 pence, which was a currency in England at the time. 3 shillings and 4 pence. He's got it 3 and 4 pence. Send 3 and 4 pence, we're going to a dance. And that actually happened, because as you hear the order and then tell it to the next person, there's always a tiny bit of distortion. That's why the past is untrustworthy. And so, if you want to relax to the max, forget about the past, forget about the future. Focus in the present moment. What do you do in the present moment? Be kind to it. Adding the kindness is the important part. Have you heard, that even it's covered now amongst psychologists, therapists, to ask people to let go of the past and let go of the future. How do you do that? Can you let go of the past and let go of the future? You can. It's very easy if you add the kindness. Be kind to the future. Why is it that people look at the future and get scared? Oh my goodness, what they're doing in the United States the economy is going to go down. Maybe this is the last time we have enough funds to be able to get an aircraft to come over to Jhana Grove to meditate. Oh my goodness, I better make the best use of this. And you see that you keep coming year after year after year after year. There's nothing to worry about except worry itself. You know that when I first came to Perth, the monk who was with me was scared. At that time, who was it? Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, and who was running Russia at the time? Gorbachev or somebody. But anyway, they thought that Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan were about to unleash nuclear war. And he said, you know that there was this drink called miso. And so I was almost ordered for breakfast every morning. Both of us had to have a glass or a cup of hot miso. You know why? Because it's supposed to be good protection against nuclear fallout. I knew that was actually rubbish, but I didn't complain because I got a glass of miso every morning and I liked it. Did we have a nuclear war? We built many bunkers at that time. There's all these old bunkers, especially in places like UK. And I thought, if I'd been in UK at that time, I'd have bought those bunkers, raised funds for them, had a fundraising to get a bunker. Because bunkers make lovely monasteries. They're quiet. It's not protection from nuclear fallout, protection from all these people asking me questions. I'll be in my bunker. That's a great place to go on a retreat, in a bunker. You've seen my cave. Many of you saw my cave today. Did that remind you of a bunker? Now you know where I got the idea from. It's a great place for monasteries, underground. You don't have to worry about bushfires. You don't have to worry about missiles. You don't have to worry about, what else? Please excuse me. Don't have to worry about councils coming out and saying you can't build here because you're underground, they can't see you. Don't have to worry about anything. So anyway, that's why don't worry about the future. So many times I tell this story. It's only the second question, so it's gone past the time now. It's 9:10 now. I'll finish off this story. And this was the story of remember the SARS epidemic? SARS, yes. Sorry? Before then, wasn't it? 2003. That was a time I was getting well known in Singapore. And they wanted to arrange a big series of talks for me in Suntec City, the convention center, in the big auditorium. And they were even advertising the program by putting these big adverts with my face on it on the back of buses in Singapore. And in UK, that's actually a bad, not complaint, it's worse than that, to say you've got a face like the back of a bus, and I had one. My face was on the back of Singapore buses. So people got interested, and the first talk I gave, actually not the first talk, before then, I was met at the airport because the government then had asked all organizations to ban all talks, all gatherings. They were afraid that this SARS was really contagious and they didn't want it to go any further. Only a recommendation. And so I had all the organizers waiting for me at Changi Airport. And they could see in their faces they were all really worried. They'd invested so much effort and so much money in organizing this series of talks. And they asked me, should we cancel? Should we cancel? And so then I asked them, how many people have got SARS? I knew the answer because it was the front page of the Straits Times, which they gave me to read in the aircraft. 99 had been confirmed with SARS that day. 99. And so I asked them, what is the population of Singapore? I said, about 4 million. So that means there is 3,999,901 people have not got SARS. I said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, look, I was a mathematician, theoretical physicist. So that means there's a 3 million haven't got SARS, 99 have. Let's call that 100. That's a 30,000 to 1 chance that you're not going to get SARS. That's pretty good odds. So let's do it. We did do it. And also, I told them the extra advantage. When I give talks, I make many people laugh. You know I do, I tell silly stories. And so when people laugh, what are they doing? They're exercising their respiratory system. They're laughing, ha ha ha, and that makes your lungs stronger. The exercise would make your chance of getting SARS even much less. So, let's do it. So we did it. And I did ask, if anybody does get SARS, please let me know. No one said they got SARS. That was the peak that day before, and then it went down. Why are people so afraid of the future? They sometimes will cancel good talks which only have a positive impact on the health of the nation. So that's one of the reasons why you can let go of being afraid of the future if you're kind to it. And be kind to your past as well. I don't know, all these people who did bad things to you, or your bad behavior too. How many of you, like, Della, how many times do you ask forgiveness of me?
Every time.
Every time. You must have done many bad things. Stop. I have to stop laughing. I get coughing again.
I'm sorry. How are you?
And what do I ever say to you when you ask forgiveness? I say, I will always forgive you for everything you've ever done in the past, for everything you're doing now, and for everything you will ever do in the future until the coming of Maitreya Buddha. I've said that to you so many times. I will never sort of not forgive every one of you, no matter what you ever do. You have blank check as far as forgiveness is concerned. Now don't just make that up now. I make that up because how beneficial that is to be kind to the past, kind to the future, and then kind to the present. I want to make you happy. That's the most wonderful thing to do. And so when you're kind to these things, it's easy to let go of the past, present and future without any worries at all. whatever's happened to you in the past, you can let it go. You can always find a reason, a meaning behind whatever happened to you. And I'm sure I'll give you many more examples of that. And this is for tomorrow's Q&A, or maybe tomorrow's talk, if you remind me, that I was so impressed that once over in Perth, these group of psychologists came to me and said, "Oh, we'd like to invite you to see our centre." It was the Australian Society of Survivors of Torture and Trauma. These are people who really had something to be very, very traumatized by in the past. And you have countries like Australia would invite the migrants in, especially if they have been really badly treated overseas. And these were Buddhists who had formed this centre. And they said, "We got our permission to form this association, by passing those degrees at university, having the pieces of paper." But I always remember what they said, the most important things which we practice was all that was taught in Dhammaloka Buddhist Centre. That's why we want to invite you to have a look. And I was so moved by that. Things which you'd just given and taught, they'd actually taken the next step and actually healed the wounds of some of the people who'd been really hurt badly in other countries. And it wasn't just talk, it actually worked. I will tell you what they did tomorrow, but this particular lady, I was talking to somebody else at Nollamara, but I was half listening to what she was saying to this other boy. And this young man was saying, "That was terrible what happened to you in that country." When she was tortured and raped and beaten. That's terrible. And she said, "You've got no right to say that. That's made me who I am. I'm at peace with it. I can give it meaning now." And she was like a saint, who was talking. And I really admired her. Have you never heard that teaching of the Buddha? Even if your enemies just cut off your limbs with a saw, you should never feel any hatred to them. And I thought that's impossible. But then there were some monks who have been put in jail for something or other and tortured. And they said, "That can be done. You'd be surprised at your resources." But also, she was saying how it was done. And that was so impressive. And it was actually the opening the door of your heart ceremony, which actually solved the problem for her. I remember going to Hong Kong University the last time, the Chinese University, in Hong Kong. And apparently every time I go there, they always ask me to please help some of the students, because the suicide rate there is too high. I remember just talking to one of the girls there. I admire her because she was challenging me. I said, "How can you let go of the past when it can be so bad?" And I taught her. And I remember her crying. I said, "Yeah, it can be done." That's coming tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. Hope you enjoyed that. I did. It's amazing, just the cough. Good throat. Thank you for behaving. That was 2 questions. There's another. Crikey. I haven't really finished that one yet. Another 5 here. So thank you for the questions. Those of you who want to carry on meditating here, you can do, but I would advise you, you're yawning. It's a busy day. So if you want to go back and take a rest, please do so. Get up whenever you need to. You may not, there's no bells here. There's no wake-up bell at, what time is it, 4 o'clock? Or 5 o'clock, whatever. But I'm sure you don't have to set your alarms for breakfast. You will all wake up at breakfast time. Okay? So off you go. You don't have to wait for me to get out. Ah. Yeah.